Kinnis L'Shem Shemayim, in the time of Ben Kesel Osir, the tremendous chizuk for the whole Tzibur, tremendous chus for the Yamadin. Just think to say what a few words. First of all, the Shus the Mamas is angesungen, and the cover of all the Choshev and Asofim. The pasuk says that Klal Yisrael says, "Ani Chayma, Yishadai Kemigdolis." I am like a fence, a wall. And the Gemara says, "Ani Chayma zu Torah." Yishadai Kemigdolis zu Tamid Chachamim. Torah is a Chayma. Torah is a wall. Torah protects, and it's a wall that surrounds us. And the Talmidei Chachamim are like Magdolos. They are our strength. Another man the Yomer says, Chayma Zuk Knesset Yisrael. Chayma is Klal Yisrael is called a Chayma. Klal Yisrael itself is called a Chayma. And the strength of the Chayma, the Shadak and Magdolos, the Batik Nesiyas, the Batik Midrashas. The Torah is a Chayma. Knesset Yisrael is a Chayma. What does it mean, a Chayma? The pasuk before says, and the pasuk says, what is Klal Yisrael? Achoy Shalom Ektan is going on Klal Yisrael. Im Chaymahi, if Klal Yisrael is like a Chayma, Nivna Olet Hiras Keser, Ni Olol Ir Mifzo LeKeser Ulenoi, we will be Zeicher to the covet of the Beis HaMikdash, we will be Zeicher to the Keser, we will be Zeicher to Shmira, we will be Zeicher to go out of Golos. Im Delati, not for Olel Luach Orez. If Klal Yisrael is not like a Chayma, but like a door, a Shmira, but not a strong Shmira, not hermetically closed. Nivna Le Tiras Luach Orez. She will have a Shmira, but it won't last. We'll end up going to Golos again. Klal Yisrael will not have the Beis HaMikdash, will not be Zeicher to the Beis HaMikdash with such a Chayma. A Chayma is when there is no Delis. Like the Mefarshim say, a Chayma is when you knock on the Chayma, there's no one that answers. There's no crack in the Chayma. Answers Klal Yisrael, Ani Chayma. I am a Chayma. Why am I a Chayma? Two reasons. First of all, Ani Chayma is a Torah. Because I have the Shmira of Torah, I have Torah surrounding us. We have Talmidei Chachamim in our midst that gives us the Shmira of the Torah. The Torah is a closed wall, doesn't have a crack. There's not a door that opens up to a knock. It's closed, hermetically closed. The other Pshat in the Gemara is Ani Chayma zu Knesset Yisrael. The meaning is, we find the bracha of Matoivu Alecha Yaakov, Mishkenesecha Yisrael, has two meanings. One meaning it means the Batik Nesiyas, the Batik Midrashas. Matoivu Alecha Yaakov is the only bracha that Bilam couldn't penetrate, that never turned back to Klola. The Batik Nesiyas and the Batik Midrashas are closed to Bilam. The Batik Nesiyas and the Batik Midrashas are closed to Esav. When Yaakov ran away from Esav, he ran to Beishem ve'Ever. Not because Esav won't know where to find him, because he can't penetrate the walls of all Beishem ve'Ever. Like it says in Furish and Chazal, Hatzpinu atzmechem b'Torah. But there's another taich, another explanation to Vatoivu Alecha Yaakov Mishkenesecha Yisrael. There's other taich to this, or halim, this mishkanis, that also is a reason that Bilam's eye cannot penetrate Esav cannot penetrate, any ashpos in the world cannot penetrate. And that is she'ein tischayim. He saw their holim, the homes of Klal Yisrael. Ein tischayim echavana zu lezu. There's a sneeze in the homes. The homes are closed from each other. Each home is private. The doors are not one opposite the other. No one can see from one house to the next. What happens in someone else's house, I don't see by me. What happens by me, he doesn't see by him. Because each house itself is a chayma. And that goes, the meaning of it is the sneers from Klal Yisrael. Klal Yisrael is a chayma because Klal Yisrael has tremendous sneers. Klal Yisrael is a chayma closed hermetically from all influences of the world because of the tremendous sneers that are in the homes of Klal Yisrael. Both meanings are the meanings of Ani Chayma, the Torah, Ani Chayma, the Knesset Yisrael. And the strength of this Chayma is the Talmidei Chachamim and the Bata Knesiyos and Bata Midrashos. How does this work? That the Chayma stays closed, doesn't open up, doesn't have a crack in it, that no one can penetrate. Bilam can't penetrate, Esav can't penetrate, the influences of the world can't penetrate, Amalek can't penetrate, and Ani Kovid. The Pasuk says by Kayin, Haloim Seitas Seis, Vimloi Seitas, La Pesach Chatas Roivet. The Yetzer Hara is looking for an opening. What is this opening? The Vilna Gaon explains. This opening is a suffix. This opening is a machshava, maybe yes, for one moment. And of course, right away, Achlata, no, I won't listen to the Yetzer Hara. But once that suffix is there, once that suffix was created, he put his foot into the door. It's no more chayma. It's no more chayma. The Yetzer Hara starts off, Chazal tell us, like the size of a hair, and gets stronger and stronger until it becomes thick. Kavoises hagola, like chains, heavy chains. He becomes stronger and stronger. If it's a door and it's not closed hermetically, he gets into the crack, and slowly but surely he becomes stronger and stronger. And the same thing Chazal tell us in another sense. The Yetzer Hara mitchila, in the beginning, he's a halach. He runs through. He's not even a guest. Just passes by for one fleeting moment. A second, then later he becomes an oirach. He becomes a guest, a visitor at the home. And then he becomes ish. Then he's the boss. Then he becomes the Adon, and we become his servants. The Yetzer Hara, all he needs is a small Pesach. All the Yetzer Hara needs is a small opening in this door. Moshe Rabbeinu tells Klal Yisrael in Parshas Nitzavim, we were in Mitzrayim, Atam Yedatem, Es Asher Yeshavnu Be'eretz Mitzrayim. We sat in Mitzrayim. We were there for many years, 210 years. We passed through the nations. Ammon, Moav, Sichon, and Og. We passed through those nations. We passed through the nations that you went through. You saw Avodah Zarah, you saw their culture, you saw what's going on by them, and it was very mias. She could say Giluleim. It was repulsive. It didn't seem to have any influence on you. He says, "Aber pen yesh bechem isha mishpacha yeshevet asher levav epoina yoyim Hashem." Maybe somebody thought, maybe there's something to it. The father Tzaddik Tzedakah, Shiva Tzal used to ask. The pasuk starts off, "Atam Yedatem, Es Asher Yeshavnu Be'eretz Mitzrayim." We sat in Eretz Mitzrayim. Moshe Rabbeinu also sat in Eretz Mitzrayim. V'shavanu b'kerev hagoyim. We passed through the nations. Asher avatem, that you passed through. What does it mean? We passed through. You passed through. We all passed through. Moshe Rabbeinu also passed through. They used to explain it means like this. Klal Yisrael was closed off in a non-covet. Klal Yisrael could have passed through the nations in a tunnel. Klal Yisrael didn't have to see what's going on in the nations. To go through the tunnel. The tunnel's closed hermetically. If the tunnel would have a crack in it, it would be very dangerous. Asher avatem, but you peeked out. You gave a look. You gave a look. All it was enough to make a suffix, to make an opening, a crack in the Ananikovitz. So maybe that crack widened. That one of a mishpacha is somebody that has a machshava, maybe yes, maybe we should be over the Zorah. Maybe we should go after their culture. Maybe there is something to it. And probably says right away, nicht. Says right away not to. But years later the Goyen says, that machshava will grow. That machshava, the Goyen says, Pesel Micha Overs HaYarden. That machshava was only a machshava when they went over the Yarden. Years later it became an Avodah Zorah. All it was a look for a second. A suffix, maybe here for a second. Asher avatem, you gave a look. Our strength is our Talmidei Chachamim. They cause that our homes are a chayma. A chayma has a wall around it, a protecting wall, to protect us from all influences from outside, to protect us from Esav, to protect us from physical danger, to protect us from ruchnisdige danger, to protect us from harm from Bilam's Ayin Ra. All protections. The tznius of our homes, basis of Ishtay, the homes, the tznius of the homes, the atmosphere that are in the homes, the atmosphere of Torah, the Shadakim Migdalis, the Talmidei Chachamim that are in the homes, together with the Avir of Dusha that's in the homes, the Avir of tznius that are in the homes, the Avir of Reimamus that are in the homes, of the Heidenkeit, of Ruchnius. This atmosphere is a chayma. It's closed without a crack. It's not a delis. This is our shmira in the golus from physical danger. This is our shmira for ruchnisdike danger. This is the shmira for our children. And sometimes, if someone has the internet, Chazal say a person is not nitzol, is not saved 1 minute every day from a thought, a thought that maybe a machshavas aveira. If someone has it in the home, it's already through the chayma. It's closed and has a filter maybe. But soif, the Pesach Chatzis Roivit. There's a danger that the hair will break through the wall. It will become Avodas Agola. Then it will become a balabas. It's known that this kli has a power of addiction, has a power of becoming the balabas on people. It never starts as a balabas. It starts with a small machshava for a second. Let me open it up just for a second. I'll close it maybe just to see the news, or just to see a kleinigkeit, or to find something that I need. And that danger is a tremendous danger from becoming a halach to becoming a ish, to becoming a odon, from becoming a hir to becoming a balabas. So our avodah is to be mechazik the chayma. Our chayma should be closed hermetically. It should not be a pesach. It should be a protecting wall for us, for our families, our children, our husbands. It should be a protecting wall that no influences from outside could penetrate those walls. A protecting wall that has the strength of the Talmidei Chachamim. A wall that brings all the brachas of Matoivu Alecha Yaakov, Mishkanesecha Yisrael. And that brings the biggest bracha, the biggest siyata d'shmaya. The Vilna Goyen says, Haloyim Seitiv says, even if a person already, the Bereshit told Cain, even if you already opened the door, but if you still close it, It's still b'yad chalitcha b'toivos ne'elakim. It's never too late to close it. It was once open. But in Seitif says, the time of chizuk of tshuva, in the Seitif of tshuva, in the time that everyone has the hisayrus, to start the new year with a tremendous chizuk, we should be zeicher to close off our chayma, not to let anything penetrate these chaymas. And through that, we zeicher to a tremendous bracha of Matov Olech Yaakov, Mishkanesecha Yisrael, to be mechazik all the inyanim, the Torah that's learned in the house, mechazik the ruach, the atmosphere, the avir in the house, mechazik the tznius that's in the homes, and we'll be able to say Ani Chayma, the Shadek and Migdalis, Nivna Le Tiras Kesef, that will be the cover of Klal Yisrael. We will be zeicher to Nivna Le Tiras Kesef, Ir Miftzor. The city will be a Ir Miftzor. It will have a Kesef, the Kesef of Torah, Kesef Yira Shemayim, Kesef Shem Tov, L'Noy, and we will be zeicher to the Ir HaKodesh, the Beit HaBchira, so Gmachti Matov Mehev Yemeinu Amen.
About 2 weeks ago, the Menahalim of all institutions of Lakewood, New Jersey have met, and everyone expressed the problem that we are facing now. We are facing now a problem with internet, that unfortunately people use it for some business, but at the same time it is unfortunately used by young children. In fact, a day before that meeting, I got a call from a person who has an internet for business, and in fact they had a visitor, and he needed to use the internet. The person allowed him to go into the internet, and the parents were away. The parents came back the next morning. They came late at night, and the next morning the children had visited this internet after it has been released. And the parents were broken. This is what happened. It's nowadays, if we do not watch ourselves, if we do not watch our children, it's mamish sakonis nefoshes. And the Satan has his ways that he finds people to be able to use things that are not supposed to be used. They are supposed to be the hashchose, the shmutz, all kinds of nibul that's possible. And this is actually the matzorah of menahalim that feel that it is so important. It is so important to see that our children are watched from shmutz. Mamish is lekedal kachine. You think no as panim that we are supposed to not to be there. Our children are not supposed to be there. And therefore it is encouraging for all of us. We realize the sola that we need to be matzal our children from tinu, from shmutz, that mabesh sakonis nefoshes. We don't know what it does. And this is actually the mechayev of people. The mechayev of people with their children, that they have to be zohir, as much as possible as zohir. They should not chas v'sholem be chas v'sholem tonuf. In chas v'sholem is something that shmutz, something that's stable. And therefore, it is such important meeting today that Baruch Hashem, everybody came out, and everybody is interested to watch their children. They should not chas v'sholem suffer from what's doing the shmutz in the street. And therefore, it is encouraging to all of us that we have to be encouraging to one another, that we have to see that it should be by Yisrael. So zayin chas v'sholem, chas v'sholem, chas v'sholem. Chas v'sholem keina zol nit werden metunaf. That's what we have to say our children. And I think that is the encouragement that people are really worried about it. And Menalim, Menalot are just as well as they realize. They realize the sakonis nefoshes for our children. Whatever we can do, all the takonis are takonis that we feel that will be matzal klal Yisrael, and matzal our children. By our, whatever we do, whatever we put ourselves into this matzah, we should try to do ourselves the best what we can do. We have to watch. Sakonis naposhes, if you do not have to have it in the house, the best thing is not to have it in the house. All kinds of ways to be matzal our children. This is actually today's meeting about. To be matzal our children. What's happening in the street.
The Rosh Yeshiva have asked me tonight, as a Menal in Stott, and as someone who has been very involved in helping formulate the takonis for the Mostes of Lakewood, to just say a few words. Several months ago, there were 3 Gedolei Yisrael here in America that have decided that it's very important that all Lakewood Mostes get together and implement takonis to safeguard our children from the terrible dangers of the internet. We all know the stories. The internet has destroyed lives of so many individuals and families. But the most painful danger, the greatest tragedies, are those that involve children, our Yiddish Kinderlich. It's a real danger. I wasn't aware of it myself. I look at myself as a Menal who has his finger on the pulse. But to my great surprise and shock, there's a lot that I did not know about until a few months ago. And as we have researched this more and more, we find out that it's a crisis. As I mentioned by the Asifa for the men, if in one class in Lakewood a Rebbe was able to get 9 children in the class to admit that they broke through the password that the parents had on the internet, and they said that the parents have no idea that they know about it, and 8 of them said that they have seen absolutely terrible things on the internet. Possibly their lives are destroyed forever. Hashem Yirachem. If it could happen to 8-9 boys in a class of 11-year-olds, then you could imagine, looking at the Stott Lakewood as a whole, what's really going on, and it is going on. The first grade Rebbe just told me that 2 boys in the first grade told him that their older brothers get onto the computer, they turn the computer into the internet, and the parents don't really have internet access, but the children know how to do that. And these first graders are watching terrible things together with their older brothers. But the greatest danger that we face now is ignorance. Parents generally feel that the children are optimistic, fine Yiddish Kinderlich. And they're right, they are optimistic, fine Yiddish Kinderlich. But they're curious. Most children are curious. That's the way they're supposed to be. And then with one click of the mouse, a world of horror is opened to these children. We have to be aware of that. We have to become more knowledgeable. few months ago, I didn't know about this either. But Maisen B'chol Yoim are coming in about children who take a regular Palm Pilot. Everybody knows what a Palm Pilot is. And now by taking a regular Palm Pilot, if it's a more recent model, they take a little card called a Wi-Fi card, and they put the Wi-Fi card into the regular Palm Pilot, and they have access to the internet, and it's unfiltered. I didn't know about it, and I'm sure most of you don't know about it, but the children do, and we have researched it and spoken to many, many children, Bochrim. They know a tremendous amount. They're brought up in this technology-saturated environment of today. And they know, they pick it all up. A technician told me, and I found out later on that this is not an uncommon occurrence in Lakewood. He was called by a client, and he said he's seeing terrible things on his computer. He doesn't have internet access. And the technician went to the house, looked at the computer, and looked behind the computer and saw that there was a little Wi-Fi adapter. I don't have one with me, but it's around the size of this pen cover. And he pulls it out from the back, and he tells the person that your tzaddik knows about the Wi-Fi adapter. He put it in, and he's been on the internet in terrible places. This is not an uncommon occurrence, and it's with the regular, healthy, fine, edel children, not children that are looking for trouble, but they're curious. You have to become knowledgeable. Choshev mothers, as a Minal, and being involved with parents for many years, I feel that it's very, very often the mothers who are more involved with the day-to-day or minute-to-minute dealings with the children. It's the mothers that are more in tune to what the children are really up to, where they're really holding in life. It's the mothers very often that are just more practical and know how to protect their children. But if you don't know what could possibly happen, how could our Choshev mothers protect our children? Therefore, I appeal to you, as uncomfortable as it is, to take this very seriously and to become knowledgeable. The three Gedolim that have made this decision to implement the Takonos, Rabbi Yosef Rosenblum Shlita, Rabbi Shmuel Kamenetsky Shlita, and the Mashgiach Shlita, they're the ones who shoulder the burden of a lot that goes on in Klal Yisrael, in Lakewood, in North America in general. They feel the pain. They're very, very aware of all the tragedies. And because of this, they came out with a very, very important psak, that a child who has any type of access to internet is a danger for his classmates. And what's behind these takonos is not trying to be machbid on the olam. What's behind these takonos is the ava that they have for every child. And they made that decision that a child that has access to internet in any form or fashion, besides endangering his own life, is endangering the lives of his friends and classmates. And that's why these important safeguards were implemented. The Eibush is a hofen that the Hisoyrus that is going on in Lakewood towards Kedushas Yisrael should be zechus for all of us to be zoiche to a Gemara Chasima Toiva. And now, for my biggest chus, vorzustellen, the Mashgiach Shlita, someone who I can't describe tens, hundreds of hours that have gone in his involvement in creating the Takonos and bringing about this awareness to Lakewood and to Klal Yisrael at large. And now we're going to hear his oiris from the Mashgiach.
Taira Mames Klal Yisrael. Taira Techter von Klal Yisrael. Each time we meet, this time of the year, we feel the togetherness of the Bnei Yeshiva, the Chavrei HaKollel, and all those who chose to live and become part of our Kehillah of Bnei Torah, who came to Lakewood because they wanted to raise the standards of their lives, the lives of their families, the future of their children. And in a way, I hope no one should take an exception to this. I feel very much like a Tata or a Zayda of every one of you here. And I want to speak to you in that vein, to talk openly together about how a family like ours has to confront the dangers, the emergencies that are so imminent and so evident in our midst. We just made Havdalah, a beautiful bracha. Hamavdil bein kodesh lechoil, bein oyer lechoshach, bein Yisrael oamim, bein yoyim hashvi l'sheises yimei hamas. The Havdalah, the separation, the difference. The Rebbeinu Shalom has set up mechitzas, their barricades between Kodesh and Choil, between things that are holy and things that are secular. And it's the same sort of division, and as clearly different and opposite as oil and choshech, darkness and light. Bein Yisrael oamim, there's a Havdalah bein Yisrael oamim. The Havdalah bein Yisrael oamim, the Chofetz Chaim in his Sforim, when he used to write his Sforim, they had to be censored. At that time there were people who censored that there should be nothing which should be insulting to the Goyim. And Chofetz Chaim wrote in his Sefer, when he wrote about the Goyim, he wrote the Goyim lahavdil. And the person who was censoring, usually these people unfortunately were Shumodim, were Yidden who turned their backs on Yiddishkeit. And he was going through the Sefer and he said to the Chofetz Chaim, why do you write lahavdil? So the Chofetz Chaim says, because the Torah says lahavdil. Va'avdil eschem min oamim liyois li. Because it's part of the essence of our understanding of our mission in life. That there's a mechitza between us and what the nations have to offer. Their education is not our education. Their morals are not our morals. Their standards are not our standards. We have nothing to learn from them. Yes, if we would say Goyim lahavdil, we would be better Yidden. Rav Nosson brings down, is brought down from Rav Nosson in the Sefer Leket Rishimas, that he said over from the Rosh Hashiva Rav Aaron Zechreinu Livrocha, that Rav Aaron had a Kabbalah from the Chofetz Chaim. Rav Aaron, first of all, he said over a Kabbalah from the Chofetz Chaim that he heard in the time of the First World Milchama. Chofetz Chaim said there'll be a Second World Milchama, and that Milchama would not bring Moshiach. Milchama, and that Milchama would not bring Moshiach. And then there'll be a hefsek, and then will come another Milchama. And that Milchama will be the Milchama which will bring Moshiach. And the Chofetz Chaim said, these two Milchamas, they take Tzadikim and Rishoim with them. But in that third Milchama, B'nai Torah, who are Muvdel Bein Yisrael o Amen, B'nai Torah who stand out as separate entirely from the culture of the people amongst whom they live, will have nothing to worry. Ben Torah Amiti, Shemuvdel u'menutek min hagoyim, ein olav shum shlita. And the Chofetz Chaim even gave the marshal that it could happen when, to explain that what, if there's a war, so everybody's involved. If they're shooting, if there are bombs falling, everybody gets hit. Falls at random. How can a bomb, a rocket, or more sophisticated sorts of armor which they have today differentiate between a Ben Torah who's Muvdel Bein Yisrael o Amen? And the Chofetz Chaim wasn't worried about that. He said in Mitzrayim, when the Ribono Shel Olam brought the Makor of Dam on Mitzrayim, there was a Yid and a Mitzri. They tried to make it happen. When they saw, the Mitzri saw that everything he touched in water became blood, and a Yid had water. So he said to a Yid, come drink from me from the same vessel. And the Yid drank water, and the Mitzri drank Dam. The Ribono Shel Olam knows how to be Mavdil Bein Yisrael o Amim. Vivdalti eschem min oamim liyois li. The interesting thing is that the pasuk from Vivdalti eschem min oamim liyois li is written on two mitzvahs. The mitzvah of Aroyas, that parsha in the Torah, where we are commanded to stay as far away as possible from immoral relationships and by macholos asuras, by foods which the Torah prescribes as kosher, and that we have to keep as far away as possible from being contaminated by eating foods which the Torah forbids. And on these two issues, and only on these two issues, the Torah ends up with the psukim, "V'avdel etzchem min ha'amim li'osli." With these, the Torah says, anyone who has a shaychus to the Isurei Aroyos or to Macholos Asuros is forfeiting the breakdown of that barrier between Yisrael and Amim. These two things damage the essence of the neshama of a Yid, the food that one eats, and our behavior in the standards with which we keep ourselves apart and distant as can be from any connection whatsoever with immorality. These two things either purify the neshama of the Yid or chas v'sholem contaminate. And by contaminate we mean not only the person who is involved, but particularly the children that would be born from such a person who has absorbed the tumor that comes from either Aroyos or Machalos Asuros. The Kedusha of Klal Yisrael is based on that. The future of Klal Yisrael is based on that. And tonight particularly, we've come together to be mechazek ourselves, because we as the mothers or future mothers of Klal Yisrael carry a responsibility, an awesome responsibility, that chas v'sholem, the children that were born from us should not be born into a world with midas that already connect with that Amim who we want to be moved from. That is our responsibility. Ki bayoyim hazeh yichaper aleichem letayer eschem. The great day of Yom Kippur, the Chesed Godel that the Rebbeinu Shalom provided us, a day is described in the Torah not just of atonement, of kapara, forgiveness, but it's tar, the tayres. This is the day where we can purify ourselves. If chas v'sholem we have become contaminated, if chas v'sholem our eyes have seen things they shouldn't see, and let me tell you, because sometimes there's a popular mistake that not to look at Aroyos is only for men and not for women. It's a big mistake. Chazal say very clearly, women are responsible for what they see, and what they see makes an impression on them. And it's even worse, because what makes an impression on them makes an impression on their children. Yehuda B'Rab Yekor, the Rebbe of the Ramban, describes a tefillah that we say on Yom Tov, Neveiso kevatchilo, Mechoinen mikdosh al mechoinoi, V'areinu bevinyonoi, V'samcheinu betikunoi. We wait and we beg for the Beis Hamikdash, and we're begging for the Beis HaMikdash, and we say to the Rebbeinu Shalom, we'd like to see the Beis HaMikdash rebuilt. Let us see Arego B'Inyonoi, but v'samcheinu, let us rejoice v'sikunoi. What does it mean, sikunoi? It's repair. Its takana means a benefit which is made, something which is made in order to benefit, in order to protect, is called a takana. So Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Yekar, the only place where you find takana by the Beis HaMikdash is by the Simchas Beis HaShoeva, when Klal Yisrael were rejoicing in their thousands in the Beis HaMikdash, and the men came to the Beis HaMikdash to rejoice, Samachtu Lifnei Hashem, and the women came also to be present at the time, and they made a Tikkun Godel. They made a special arrangement which was called a Tikkun Godel, a great benefit. They separated the men from the women and put the women higher than the men on a different floor. And Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Yekar says it's called a Tikkun Godel. It's a great benefit because it was a benefit for the ladies that their children should be pure children. Samcheinu b'sikunoi. And he brings down there that it's a mistake to think that to watch and have pleasure from watching the men is not as bad as men watching women. Depends on the thoughts you have, that the Maisa is something which you have to understand. When we talk about internet, of course we don't need Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Yekar. I think we have to say lahavdil between Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Yekar and the internet. God mentioned as our holy name. But you have to know. We are talking about protecting our children, but I cannot hold myself back from saying you need to protect yourselves. And I know what I'm talking about, unfortunately. There is such a thing as chat rooms, which is a site on the internet in which you can meet people without seeing them or knowing who they are. But it can bring and has brought terrible tragedies on Yiddish families, unfortunately amongst the best. Just tonight, somebody called me up, spoke to the Rebbetzin, and said that someone reported a young girl from a good family. So they saw them in the library on the chat room. What is one mechuyev to tell the parents or not? That's one. That's not one. Unfortunately, it's dozens. And this has to be stopped, and it can be stopped. And this evening, our korban that we're going to bring to the Rebbeinu Shalom for this Yom Kippur is Rebbeinu Shalom. We made a sacrifice, whether we're sacrificing pleasure or whether we're sacrificing parnasa. If we have no other way than to throw it out, then we'll do that Rebbeinu Shalom for you. Because there's a t'nai in Kabiyim Azeh Yechaper Aleichem L'Tayar Eschem. Do you know what the condition in that the Tayar of the Rebbeinu Shalom is? Mikol Chatoiseichem Lifnei Hashem Tithoru. This is the mitzvah of Yom Kippur, that we have to purify ourselves. And if we're not prepared to purify ourselves, we can't expect the Rebbeinu Shalom to meet us with his kapora and with his tab. But as soon as we are ball attire, as soon as we are prepared to purify ourselves, then Hashem Yisborach is there for us. He's waiting for that moment. Ball attire, Messiah no Yisrael. We'll feel a special help from Hashem. Help in Ruchnius to withstand the pressures of the Nisyonos. And help in Gashmius that we won't lose in any way by doing what the Rebbeinu Shlem is expecting of us. So if one wants to understand to what extent it's the duty of every mother to protect the purity, the holiness, and the refinement of midas of her child. To what extent it's the achrayus that by your behavior no one should be affected in a detrimental way. There's a halacha in Yeridea which says that cholav mitzris is mutter. Doisha milk from a mother, from a wet nurse, it's mutter. You can give a Jewish child milk from a Goyish woman. Nevertheless, the Ramah says one shouldn't do it, because it's moilid tevara, because the milk is produced and it comes and it brings with it all the characteristics of the mother, and it's moilid tevara. Chas v'sholem will spoil the Yiddish midas of a child. And the Gaon brings there, where do you find this anywhere? If it's mutter, it's mutter. Where do you find this chumrah? Because it's moilid tevara, because it gives out, creates a bad nature. Therefore one shouldn't do it. And the Gaon says, because the Gemara in Soita tells the well-known story, when Bas Paroi took Moshe Rabbeinu out of the water, and she wanted to give it to someone else to nurse, and she called all the various ladies to nurse, and he refused to drink until his sister Miriam came and said, maybe I'll bring you somebody, he doesn't want it from a Mitzri, maybe I'll bring you somebody, a Jewish person, and he brought him his mother. And the Gemara says in Soita, why did he refuse? And the Gemara answers, because peh she'osid ledabe im hashchina, a mouth that's going to talk with the Rebbeinu Shlom should be yoinek from a Mitzri. The Gaon says that's the mekoyer of this halacha. That's the source of this halacha. The answer is that every mother has a responsibility. We don't know the children whom will be Zoicha and Yirtzeh to bring into this world, or the children who we have already been Zoicha to bring into this world. We don't know whether they will be Osid Linek Ledabe Mashchina. We don't know what Madregas they are going to reach. But one thing we know, that we don't want to be blamed for any potential which couldn't be reached. It didn't come into reality because we were negligent in the Shmirah. And so the Ramah says every mother should have this goal for her children. I must protect him, that he should be able to be the one, a child, even a child who could have come to a high madrega of being able to speak with the Shrina. Chas v'sholem, to expose a child to a situation which will drive him away from Shechina, which will just do no more for the child than guarantee chas v'sholem einoi mekabel pnei hashchina, and not to appreciate the extent that we have to go to make sure that our children are not exposed. And we live in a world where it's impossible, kimat impossible. You need shmira from the Ribono Shel Olam. Your child shouldn't meet the wrong friends. He shouldn't go in the house where he sees things that he shouldn't see. He shouldn't at a street corner meet somebody who shows him a picture that he shouldn't see, which can damage him for life. And that you can't protect him. But if you want the Ribono Shel Olam to protect your child, then you have to be able to say, I did everything that was in my power. I didn't allow anything in the home that chas v'sholem could damage my child. And if anybody wants to say, my children are different, they are innocent neshamas, go home. Tonight it's already too late. Tomorrow morning, ask them a few pointed questions. I hope you won't be shocked. But I've had too many experiences to know that there's a great percentage of children who've seen a lot more than their parents know about. We've all already seen the takonos which have been sent out. I don't want to go into the detail here, but you have to know that the Rosh Yeshivas, Manhigei Oyer, sent out to all the Bnei HaKoil, to all those who belong to our Beis HaMedrash, to tell them that a person who has internet in his home has no place in the Beis HaMedrash. The exceptions need to be confirmed by the poskim of the yeshiva. One doesn't do such things easily when we know that we are imposing on people's lives, when we know we're making it difficult. And by the way, let me tell you that many people feel deprived. They're not allowed to do their shopping from the internet, and we know we care for this. It's not chas v'sholem. We just come down, Yikriv Adin Sohar. We hope Be'ez Hashem in the very near future to set up a location where there will be a battery of computers and with internet, with people in attendance, where anyone can go there. It should be local and do their shopping from there. There are eitzes for everything, and we're looking for eitzes. We're not looking to make people's lives hard. But even in the meanwhile, a bissel mesirus nefesh, that should be a reason to disregard the dangers, that should be a reason to defend yourself. You'll make litzonos rachmana litzlan from takonos that will be worked on by Talmidei Chachamim for hours and hours, with only one thing in mind: how can we protect your children? On the other hand, I have a great feeling of pride standing here this evening. Rabbi Akiva says Ashreichem Yisrael lifnei mi atem metarim umi metayres. Gewaldig. A hamoin, ladies in their thousands on a Moitzoi Shabbos, kimat by Chatzois already. And they've come for one purpose alone. Bol attire. Voine Shloilom. Klal Yisrael, yo Klal Yisrael. Mikol Chateisechen lifnei Hashem titogu. We're looking for Tara. And we're waiting for you. But I want to tell you much more than that. Much more than that. The Asifa which we had with the men, and this Asifa that is taking place this evening, I don't think that any one of you, or for that matter any one of us, can understand and appreciate what is happening, not what is happening here in this hall this evening, not what is happening when it will be reported perhaps in various media. What is happening in the Bria, we are changing the Bria. Changing the Bria, nothing more, nothing less. The beautiful Chazal, Ayalkut Shimoini in Parshas Emor, which says these words: Sora yorda leMitzrayim, v'godra atzma mino ervo, v'nigdaru kol ha'noshim b'zchuso. Sora Yimenu had an Nisoyen when she was taken by the king of Mitzrayim, and she withstood that Nisoyen, and the Chazal said it was a Nisoyen. And she didn't let him touch her. And b'schus that, why did it happen in Mitzrayim? Mitzrayim was Erva So'oret. The Pasuk says, K'maise Eretz Mitzrayim asher yishavtem bo lo taisu. K'maise Eretz Canaan asher ani mevi esen shova lo tasu. When the Torah wants to talk about the depravity of the lowest moral standards, then it's called K'maise Eretz Mitzrayim. And Klal Yisrael were meshubed in that place, and they had continuous nisyones in Aroyes, and no single person, one single lady, no single person in Klal Yisrael fell in. The Rebbeinu Shalom Shiftei Kor, he gave his stempel on the kedusha of every family. Saying Chazal, you know why? Because Sarah withstood an Nisoyen in Mitzrayim, in one place in the palace of the king. And because of that, all the Yidden in all Mitzrayim felt the Kedusha Doiros later, and were able to withstand the Nisoyen. Yosef yorad leMitzrayim, v'goda atzvei mino ervo, v'nigdaru kol ha'anoshim kulo. The men got the strength from the one Nisoyen that Yosef HaTzadik stood. The ladies got their koyach, their strength, from the one Nisoyen. If we are mekabel, we accept upon ourselves, even if it's going to make difficulties in our lives, we mekabel ourselves to protect our children for the royos, because that's what we're talking about. Yes, protect our husbands from our royos, and husbands should protect their wives from our royos. And if we are mekabel that, you know what that means? That means that we're metired ganz America. It'll be easier for an Ehrliche Yid, whatever place, in what verworfen place, to withstand the Nisyones. Because here in Lakewood, Hamoin, Anoshim, Noshim, we're mekabel on themselves to be goider atzmon ba'aroyos. Is there a greater schus that we can take to Rebbeinu Shalom Yom Kippur? Teire, Kedusha. All of us here this evening should go home feeling uplifted. We're raising ourselves, whether we have internet in our home or not, but we are raising ourselves to a new level of Kedusha. A level of Kedusha that comes out of an awareness that we have to make Gedorim. Tumah doesn't just come from the Averos alone. If we allow ourselves to get too close for safety, then we already contaminate. And this Asifa this evening will bear fruits in the Kedusha and Taira of Klal Yisrael. And let me read you the last part of that wonderful medrash. Omar Rav Chia bar Abba, Kedai hu geder ervo sheyigalu Yisrael b'schusay. What more do we want? We've come this evening to make sure that Toshin Samach Vov should be the year that Mashiach should come. We've come here to show the Rebbeinu Shalom. We're prepared to be Moser Nefesh. We're prepared to stand up to the ridicule of all the critics and cynics and tell them in their face that that one who laughs last is the one who laughs best. Ozi mole is choik pinu u'shoneinu rino. We'll be the ones to laugh when the Rebbeinu Shalom will gather us in. When the time will come, and we are prepared for that time. The time will come when there'll be a terrible milchama. But we made our safety and security guaranteed, because there's a Havtocha and a Kabbalah that if we make the Havdalah bein Yisrael or Amin complete, if there are no breaches and no pirza in that Havdalah, Hamavdil bein Kodesh lechoil, bein Oil lechoshech, bein Yisrael or Amin, all these things work together to build up the Kedusha of a Yid. And if the Havdalah bein Yisrael lo Amim will be intact in our homes, then our homes will remain intact in the face of the gravest dangers that may come upon any place. This is our security shelter. Let's take advantage. The Rebbeinu Shalom looked with a gewaldige, I'm sure, with a meurdike nachasuach. I don't think we could do anything better before Yom Kippur. The Rebbeinu Shalom should be mekabel, berachmim, uverot, our good intentions that we're having now at this particular moment. And that should be a reach nichoyach, a nachasuach lefonov. Sheomarti v'naiser etzoini, my kinderlich want to do what I want them to do. They are metayeh themselves, and I'll be metayeh them. They are royal Geula, so I'll bring the Geula. A gute Woche.